Lance, thank you so much for joining us today. Can you please tell us what the ShakeOut is all about?
I would be happy to, but I have to give you a little background first. About 10 years ago, a study of the big San Andreas earthquake fault in California was done by the U.S. Geological Survey and Caltech, and they discovered that there is a major earthquake, like 7.8, every 200 years, and it's 100 years overdue now. It could happen any day. People at the University of Southern California's Earthquake Center decided that it would be wise to warn people in Southern California about this. So they came up with the idea of having a day, ShakeOut Day, where people could together practice, drop, cover, and hold on with the media. To support that, they created a website which has a great deal of information about it. They created an organization called the Earthquake Country Alliance, which is a group of organizations that care about earthquake safety. The Red Cross, FEMA, Cal Emergency Management, Southern California Earthquake Center at USC, Caltech, number of other organizations. And they all created this Earthquake Country Alliance website, an organization which knits people together. This has grown from Southern California, the ShakeOut Earthquake Day. It's grown to a worldwide phenomenon with more than 35 states in the United States participating, and with a number of countries abroad. The first year, there were 5 million people who participated. Last year, there were over 55 million people. So that's what ShakeOut is. It is a day, and in some places it's not the same day, but for most places it is a day and a time, the third Thursday of October, at a time that's the same as the date. So if it's October 17, it would be at 10:17 in the morning. And in Southern California and in many locales, they involve the media. They'll have a centralized location where fire departments, police, emergency responders get together and practice. We've done it at school, at elementary schools, at colleges, at businesses, train stations each year. We pick a different location, and that's where the media all comes together to broadcast it. There is on the shakeout.org website, there's a place where you can actually play the radio station broadcast, which radio stations would broadcast at that day and time. But if you want to practice it at home with your family, you can air the same thing. If you want to do it at your company at a different time, you can do it at the same time. Now, the two websites, there's a lot of information here. The two websites, shakeout.org and earthquakecountry.org, both have tons of information about earthquake safety, especially what to do before, during, and after an earthquake. One of the things we very strongly urge anyone living in an earthquake zone to do is to get earthquake insurance. Let's look at what happens during an earthquake. There's shaking. So if we have this 7.8 earthquake, let me back up. The Northridge earthquake was a 6.7, I believe, 6.8. It was 17 seconds of strong shaking. And it was at the time the most expensive natural disaster in American history.
I remember, yes.
$20 billion and a number of lives lost. The one we're expecting, a 7.8, would cause in the Los Angeles area, and even though it would be 30, 40, 50 miles east of Los Angeles, in the Los Angeles area, we would expect 2 minutes of violent shaking, as opposed to 17 seconds of strong shaking. So what we are told by the emergency authorities is that there would be perhaps 2,000 or 3,000 people killed. There'd be tens of thousands of injuries, minor and larger ones. There would be some 2,000 fires, and we do not have the resources to put those fires out. So based on what I've just told you, here are the things you need to worry about. First and foremost, when the earth starts shaking, you don't know if it's going to be a small earthquake or a big one. If it's a big one, within a matter of seconds, the shaking will get so violent you will not be able to remain standing. You'll actually be thrown to the ground or into a piece of furniture, and you could break an arm, a leg, a shin, a concussion, whatever. So the first thing to remember, and the most important to protect yourself, is to drop to the ground so you're not thrown to the ground. Now, things are going to be flying about your home or your office or wherever you are. So you want to try and get under something strong enough to protect you. You can't see it unless I tilt this, but I have a strong table here.
Yes.
And another one that the computer's sitting on, which I could be under in an instant.
Okay.
Don't get under a glass top coffee table. That's going to shatter. But, it's a good argument for no glass top coffee tables, by the way.
Yeah.
But a dining table, a coffee table, something. Some people fear that if they're under something, it'll collapse on them. But that's not the biggest danger, especially in areas like Southern California. Buildings are built strong enough, for the most part. I'm not talking about older buildings and brick buildings, but modern buildings are built strong enough to survive a 7.8 earthquake. But everything in the place will be thrown about. And, here's a glass jar. This could come flying across the room and hit me in the head.
Right.
Here's a pair of scissors. This pair of scissors could come flying across at me. So if I'm under something, I am protected. If I am next to something, I'm not protected.
Right.
And some people say, well, you get in that space next to it so you don't get under. But I say, okay, I have this big heavy rock. I'm going to drop the rock on the table and you're under the table. Are you safe? Yes. Okay, now you're next to the table. I'm going to drop the rock on your head.
Yeah.
Are you safe?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So that's the lesson. So you drop, cover, and you hold on to the legs of the table. Hold on to whatever you get under, because if the earthquake is strong enough, it's going to start bouncing away from you. Drop.
Right. Okay.
cover.
Right. The table. Yes.
That's during an earthquake. Okay. And don't stand in a doorway, because doors will slam shut and crush your fingers, or you can still be hit by flying objects. Don't try and run for an exit. You probably won't make it. You'll probably be thrown to the ground before you get to an exit.
Right.
But if you do get outside, then you're subject to being hit by falling bricks. And if you're in a downtown area where there are high-rise glass buildings, imagine this. In downtown Los Angeles, in some of the streets, the broken glass is going to be 10 or 20 feet high. And if you're if you run out of the building because of the earthquake, you're going to be sharded to death.
Right.
Or buried in broken glass. Yeah.
So stay in the building.
Yeah, stay in a building. We've been talking about during.
Yeah.
Let's go back and talk about preparing for, because it's really prepare for, protect yourself during, and recover afterwards. The insurance is part of the recover afterwards, right?
Yeah. Okay.
And there's some other things I'll get to. But to prepare for an earthquake, the first thing you need to remember in most locations is, where does your water come from and where does your food come from? And water is much more important. You can only live for 3 or 4 days without water, or liquid that's mainly water. Like here's a jar of lemonade that I'm drinking right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's basically, it says on here, it's mostly water. Okay, so but water, pure water is best. And so if you don't have enough water to get through 4 or 5 days, and the water supply is not available for 2 or 3 weeks, quite literally you'll go into kidney failure and die a painful death.
Yes. Okay.
Be graphic about it, but that's what happens. So how much water do you need to keep on hand? The recommendations vary. To not scare people away, they say a gallon of water per person per day. But that doesn't include flushing toilets, washing dishes, so forth. So, I say 3, 4, 5 gallons a day per person in your household.
Right.
Now, how do I keep that much water around? I live in an apartment, all right? Well, get rid of that coffee table, get a nice big strong board, and then buy some of those 5-gallon jugs and put them under, put a nice solid piece of wood on top of it and cover it with a tablecloth, and boom, right there in the middle of your living room, you've created storage space. Or do you have closet space? Or do you have a garage? All of these are places to store water.
Great.
Now, I just last week bought a big 50-gallon tank, plastic. It's about this tall and about that big around, and that'll hold 50 gallons of water. Once I filled it, I can't move it, so you put it where you want it and then fill it. But I have several people living in the apartment complex, that I want to be able, I'm the manager, I want to be able to take care of them in addition to myself.
Right.
If you have water and your neighbors don't, and not having water is certain death, they're going to want your water, right? Let me step aside for a moment to another subject, and that's fire. If you have fire extinguishers, which you should have several in your home, and your neighbors don't have fire extinguishers, and their house catches on fire, there's a good chance that fire will transfer over to your house. So I recommend to everybody that you get your neighbors involved with earthquake safety, because when it happens, we are all in this together.
Right.
So if you have water, talk to your neighbors. Tell them you have water, but make sure they get some. Make sure they have a couple of fire extinguishers.
Yeah.
If everybody in the block has got a couple of fire extinguishers, and remember, they're not going to be firemen available because there are 2,000 fires, and in Los Angeles we only have like 80 fire departments. If how are we going to do it?
Right.
So forgive me, I'm talking a lot and awful fast, but I think this is what you want. And the fun thing is, you can go to ShakeOut, ShakeOut.org, shakeout.org, and right there at the home page you can see all the states in the United States and regions and countries around the world that participate. If you are not in a country or a place that participates in ShakeOut, there's a map of the world, and you can click on that, and that's everybody else in the world who wants to register. So if you're in, I think, Uzbekistan, and I think they have earthquakes there, and there's no Uzbekistan ShakeOut, fine, register. Because when you register, all you're doing is promising to do something. What you're promising to do, preferably, just for the fun of it, on the day and time when ShakeOut is. But in reality, you can practice the ShakeOut anytime, anywhere, with anyone. Okay? And you practice by drop, cover, and hold on. And the reason we have people practice every year is because when the earth starts shaking, your natural instincts are not to drop to the ground, get under cover, and hold on. Your natural instincts are to freeze and wonder if this is the big one, or to run for a door. And those are the wrong things to do. Okay?
So as a reminder, jump to the ground. Jump to the ground, hold on under a table, and hold on to the legs.
Drop, cover, and hold on. Drop, cover, and hold on. That's right. And earthquakecountry.org is an equally rich resource. And I implore your people, we've got a telephone call coming in over here. I will try and... There we go. I can call them. So I talked about water, but also food, canned food. Now, after the Northridge earthquake, and this is before I was actually involved in earthquake safety, which I am now here as a member of the Southern California Earthquake Center and ShakeOut team, I went out and bought a little portable stove, some portable gas cylinders so I could cook things. I also have a solar cooker, which I got some years later at a emergency preparedness fair. I keep canned food, and I sort of rotate it. I'll eat some, replace some. If it gets too old, I throw it out. But I have enough canned food, like canned ravioli and soup and whatnot, keep me going for a while. Okay. You can last a lot longer without food, and maybe even if you have to cut way back on what you eat for a while, that might be good for all of us. But you want to have enough food, and you want to make sure your neighbors are prepared as well. That's another important thing. Have
insurance.
Yes, have insurance, exactly. Now, here's the next thing. You have family members and friends. Remember, the telephone service probably won't work. Mobile phones work through satellite receivers, which are going to be perhaps down or tilted out. Landlines actually might be a little bit better. I have a landline telephone over here that I keep just for reasons of earthquake in case my cell phone's not working. But if they're both not working, do you know where and how to hook up with your wife, your husband, your children? No. So you should have family meetings and plan what to do in an earthquake.
But Lance, I think Facebook has a feature where if there's an earthquake anywhere in the world, people check in and then that person is checked off as safe. I think that's a brilliant idea.
And to register to participate in ShakeOut, it takes a couple of seconds. You go online, it says register here, you register. Now, why do people register? Why don't they just do it? Well, it's the herd instinct. If we can say 55 million people are participating, you're much more likely to.
Yes.
If we said, well, we don't know who's participating, we think people around the world are.
Yeah.
But because people actually register, we consider that a promise. And when they register and give us their email, we are able to send them a reminder.
Yeah.
And we were able to send them updated safety information.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're now able to contact 55 million people.
Yeah. Yeah. We're all in this together, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.